When we think of slavery in America, we often imagine the past plantations, chains, and a nation divided by war. But what if slavery never really ended? What if it simply evolved, hidden behind legal loopholes and prison walls? But what most Americans don't realize is that hundreds of thousands of these prisoners are also working. Not voluntarily, not for fair pay, but because the system demands it, and someone somewhere is profiting. Every year, over 2 million people are incarcerated in the United States, the highest prison population in the world. This is the hidden story of prison labor in America, and it all begins with one sentence. The 13th Amendment loophole, or at least, that's what we were taught. In some states, refusing labor can lead to solitary confinement, loss of visitation rights, or extended sentences. This government-owned corporation uses inmate labor to produce goods for the U.S. military and other federal agencies. From body armor to office furniture, these products are made by prisoners, some earning as little as 23 cents an hour. The jobs vary: manufacturing furniture, sewing uniforms, fighting wildfires, or answering customer service calls. Companies like Walmart, AT&T, Victoria's Secret, and Whole Foods have, at different times, been linked to prison labor either directly or through subcontractors. Although some have since cut ties, the fact remains, prison labor is cheap, and someone is always willing to profit. While some argue this provides work experience, critics say it's forced labor disguised as rehabilitation. In many federal and state prisons, inmates even work for major corporations through contracts managed by prison agencies. The amendment reads, in 1865, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States. They called it what it is, modern-day slavery. The demands, fair wages, humane living conditions, and an end to the exploitation of prison labor. That creates a dangerous incentive to lobby for stricter sentencing laws, longer incarcerations, and policies like mandatory minimums. In other words, more prisoners means more profit. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. They're often not protected by labor laws, OSHA regulations, or minimum wage requirements. It's not just about who's in prison, it's about who's being used for labor, and why. The historical connection between slavery, racism, and incarceration is undeniable. In some states, prisoners are not paid at all. Similar measures are being pushed in other states and at the federal level. And because they're behind bars, they can't unionize, strike, or refuse assignments without punishment. That one phrase, except as a punishment for crime, left the door open. Minor crimes like loitering or unpaid fines led to harsh prison sentences. These prisoners were then leased to private companies, working on railroads, in coal mines, and on cotton fields. This system, known as convict leasing, generated massive profits and recreated slavery in all but name. Slavery, it turns out, wasn't abolished entirely, it was rebranded. After the Civil War, Southern states exploited this clause to arrest newly freed Black Americans en masse. Fast forward to today, and the system hasn't changed much. It's just grown more sophisticated. How prison labor works today in modern America: prisoners are often required to work. One of the biggest players is Unicor, also known as Federal Prison Industries. Private prisons also get in on the action. Inmates are used for janitorial services, food preparation, and facility maintenance, all at minimal or no pay. The families they leave behind, and all of us, when we accept a system that values profit over people, punishment over rehabilitation. Who profits from this system? The biggest beneficiaries are often government agencies and private corporations. For governments, it's about cutting costs. For corporations, it's about maximizing profits. But for prisoners, it's exploitation. Private prison companies like CoreCivic and GEO Group receive taxpayer money to house inmates and profit more when their prisons are full. It's no coincidence that the rise of mass incarceration in the U.S. began just as prison labor became a booming industry. Modern slavery, by another name, many prison laborers work under conditions that would be illegal on the outside. In 2022, inmates in Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas staged hunger strikes and work stoppages to protest forced labor. These protests echo back to earlier movements. In 2018, one of the largest prison strikes in U.S. history swept through 17 states. But change is slow and the system is deeply entrenched. Racial disparities and injustice. Prison labor isn't just an economic issue, it's a racial one. Black Americans make up 13% of the U.S. population, yet they account for nearly 40% of the prison population. Many see the prison labor system as a direct extension of slavery, disproportionately affecting people of color and the poor. The push for reform. There is a growing movement to abolish prison slavery by closing the 13th Amendment loophole. In 2022, Colorado, Nebraska, Utah, and Alabama passed state constitutional amendments banning slavery and involuntary servitude even for prisoners. Activists and formerly incarcerated people are calling for fair wages for prison labor protections under U.S. law, the right to organize and strike, an end to private prisons and profit-based incarceration, but powerful interests including lobbying groups and private prison corporations continue to resist reform. Conclusion: who really pays the price? So, who profits from prison labor? Governments do. Corporations do. Private prison companies do. But who pays? The prisoners are stripped of their labor, their time, and often, their dignity. This isn't just a policy issue, it's a moral one. Because when slavery exists in any form, under any name, we all lose something human. It's time we ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to be? And who are we really locking up when we ignore the truth behind the system?